Blessed be everyone. Blessed be. Welcome to another Mystery Witch School YouTube Live. Today we're talking about what happens when you work with Hekate for shadow work and identity shifting and going from fear to power. Talking a little bit about resistance to the work and how Hekate can help you overcome that resistance when you're working with her to help you remember who you are, because that is really what identity shifting is and shadow work is. It's about remembering who you are. So, welcome everybody. Welcome everybody who's also watching the replay. Still, if you got any questions or any comments you want to make, pop them in the comments section. And we're waiting for more people to come on to the live because it can take a while for YouTube to send all the notifications out. So while we are just having a little think about your journey with Hekate. If you've already worked with Hekate, let me know in the comments if you work with Hekate regularly, or maybe you're new to working with Hekate and you're curious to find out how you would do this kind of work with her and what it's like to work with Hekate, because I'm going to let you know how I work with her and some of the experiences that I've had working with her as well. Hello, Art for Joy. Merry Meet. Welcome. Welcome. Now, if you've ever felt like you're living a life that didn't really belong to you, like no matter how much you've tried, something deeper was somehow holding you back from being who you truly are. And maybe you've tried to change this. Maybe you've done various different forms of shadow work or various different modalities of healing or therapies, yet something is still keeping you stuck in this old way of feeling about yourself, which is the way you're identifying with yourself. The way we feel about ourselves and the way we feel whether we can do something or we can't do something, or that we should do something or we shouldn't do something, is how we're identifying with ourselves. And when we stray from that identity that we created as children, it feels uncomfortable. And our subconscious mind brings us back to our old identity because that's where it feels safe. That's where it thinks you're safe, because that identity was created back in your childhood to keep you safe. So maybe you didn't speak up for yourself when you were a small child because it wasn't safe to do that. Every time you might have done that, you might have ended up in trouble with a parent or at school, that kind of thing. So you learned, okay, I can't stand up for myself. I can't speak up for myself. And so you've struggled with that maybe your entire life. Other ways that these things can manifest in childhood is when we're kind of copying a parent or a caregiver and emulating them and taking on their beliefs and taking on how they perceive the world, just from a mirroring perspective. It's not necessarily that that person's forcing their beliefs on you. It's just that for some reason you've bonded with that person in a way that that person is the mirror that you're wanting to emulate for whatever reason, because remember, you're just a small child at this time. And those beliefs that you picked up from that person or mirroring that person can form part of your identity. And if that's not matching what you really want to do, and if that's not matching who you truly are, then there's going to be a very uncomfortable feeling there. And it's going to stop you from really achieving the things that you want to achieve. So, hi, Dwight. How are you? Merry Meet. And Simply Rochelle Paranormal, Merry Meet from Florida. Awesome. It's getting like similar weather in the summer here, very, very hot and humid, like I believe it is in Florida. Maybe not quite as bad where I live, but it still can get pretty bad. So, Hecate will guide you through these shadows and help you shed those old identities so that you can step fully into who you are and into your power. And she guides you through the difficult times, and she'll guide you through the resistance, because there's always, always going to be resistance to doing this kind of work. And that's usually where people struggle, is actually with the resistance. It sounds pretty easy in theory how to shift from your old identity to remembering who you truly are and being in that one. Just like magic sounds easy too when you talk about it, but actually doing it, the mental emotional aspect of doing it is often harder than it sounds because we've got to go against all of this resistance that's in the way. And this can happen when we're doing spells as well. The identity that we have about ourselves may not match the outcome you're wanting for the spell. And so the spell may not work, it may be blocked, it may fizzle out, or it may work in a way that's not really satisfactory. It might half work, and you can get sort of strange things happening with your magic when you're not really vibrating at the identity level that you need to be to have the success with the spell. So that's what we're going to talk about today, and I'm going to also talk about my experiences too. Hi, Weezer. Hello. Hi, Melissa. Hello, everyone, and blessings. Welcome. Now, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Sandra. I'm the author of Crafting Your Wiccan Path. I've been walking with Hekate since about 2018 now. And it's on and off. I don't always work with Hecate, but when I'm doing intense shadow work like I'm doing at the moment, then I would work with Hecate. She's my deity of choice for doing this kind of work. There are other deities that you can work with for this sort of thing too. I just happen to, well, Hecate actually just happened to come along and invited me to do this work with her or to work with her for this kind of work. I've been doing shadow work for a very long time now. I started doing this kind of work when I was in my early 20s, basically just fumbling around trying to figure it out through books, doing inner child work, and just reading things and struggling with how to actually make the change. So I had the knowledge, but I didn't have the way of actually doing it because the books weren't giving that kind of guidance. A lot of ways of facing these things in the past has been just using your willpower and trying to force yourself into the new identity or facing your fears by just forcing yourself to face the fears. That book, face was it Face Your Fear and Do It Anyway, or whatever the book was. It does give you some great guidance, but it's getting you to force your way through these things, and you can't keep forcing your way into identity shifting and pushing, 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 because the subconscious mind is going to push back. And that's going to be very, very uncomfortable, and you just get totally exhausted. So there are other ways that you can do it now. There's new modalities that have been around now for a while now that I wasn't aware of back then when I first started. And that's why it took me so long to get there. And when I discovered that I could work with Hecate for this kind of work, when she invited me to work with her for this kind of work, it really sped things up and really, really helped in a number of ways. Hello, Cynthia from Cuba. So she's been my guide through the shadow work. She's been my guide through the identity shifting and some of the hardest times and also rewarding aspects of this kind of work as well. So I want to share some personal stories about working with her as we go and the way that she's helped me with my transformation, and other people who are working with her have been also experiencing transformation by working with her as well, because I do have a course called A Journey with Hecate, and so that's a way that you can work with Hecate. I'll talk about that at the end. Because before we do dive into the stories, if you are wanting to start shifting your identity with Hecate and step into your ideal self, I have created a free video class that's called Awaken Your Power with Hecate. You can find it in the description field below this video. It's also on my website under my freebies tab. And in that video, I give you 4 powerful steps that you can use to begin transforming into the person you really know deep down you are. But there's a lot of resistance to getting there. And doing these 4 steps with Hecate is going to help awaken you to what's going on in your psyche and what you can do to make those changes and step into who you are. Because identity shifting is really just you remembering who you are. It's a remembering the self. Remember yourself. If anyone's done any work with the Gurdjieff and the fourth way system, remember yourself was something that was spoken a lot, I think a lot by Ouspensky. remember yourself, because we've forgotten who we are and we're not remembering ourselves. We're not being mindful of ourselves all of the time. We fall into habits, we become unconscious, we react to things, and we react from that old version of ourselves, not the version that we truly are. Okay, so Hecate entered this work back in 2018. And she came to me unexpected because I had never really thought about working with Hecate before. And it was like a cognizance when I was sitting outside overlooking the ocean doing some meditation. I looked up and the moon was getting close to being full, but not quite full. So it was up there in daylight. And when I saw the moon, I thought of a tarot card or from one of my Greek tarot decks that is actually Hecate as the moon card. And I heard this thought came into my head as if a voice was coming into my head saying, "It's time to work with me now." And I felt compelled to find out more about Hecate. And a couple of days after that, probably maybe even the next day, I did get an email in my inbox from Jason Miller to about his course, um, his Hecate course. So I did do that to get familiar with Hecate and really worked with her at that time more on the magical side of stuff. I wasn't working with her so much on shadow work or identity shifting back then. I started working with her for that a little bit later, maybe a year or two after that, and particularly intensively over the last couple of years. And that's why the course came out of that. It came out of my experience of doing the shadow work with her. So it was her kind of nudging me to work with her on the shadow work because I'd been using a EFT tapping on trying to change my story, my narrative about myself, and having her with me made it a lot easier because it's like you're not doing it by yourself. You've actually got a guide there helping you along the way. Now, I grew up in a family where there was a lot of self doubt. I discovered through the shadow work that I've done with Hecate and the identity shifting with Hecate that I really did have quite a loyalty, vows and bonds with my mother, who was also incredibly self-limited and also had a lot of self-doubt and didn't do the things she really could have done with her life. And it was working with Hecate that I was able to see a lot of these things in my subconscious mind that I hadn't seen before when I was just doing the work on my own. The patterns, the beliefs, not just things I was told about myself growing up or, traumas, big and small traumas that I've experienced in my childhood. It was also copying and mirroring my mother and copying her beliefs, basically just taking them on board myself because I who else do you copy when you're a child? Children are always looking for how do you do things? How do you navigate your way in the world? And the adults around the child are the ones that the child is going to copy and going to mirror and either bond with loyalty wise, or totally rebel against. Usually the rebellion comes if there's a lot of conflict going on between the child and the parent. So I work with Hecate a lot on that kind of thing. And the way that I do that is to ask her to illuminate my path, give light to where I am feeling the blockages, my resistance. Show me what that resistance is. And then I will go into a meditation and do either one of two things. One, I will go into the meditation and just clear my mind. So, going more into a mindfulness type of meditation where I might just be focusing on one thing, like a candle flame, for example, and then allow myself to go into my thoughts and to either see what I need to see or to feel what I need to feel or whatever my self talk is around what it is that I'm feeling. And when that comes up for me, I then either do some tapping around that or I have a conversation with that part of me. So, for example, there might be a part of me that's holding me back from doing something, like really, really going for something. Like, for example, when I first started Mystery Witch School, there was a lot of hesitation around starting this. And so I had to speak to that part of me that was telling me it wasn't safe to do this, and all of the reasons why it wasn't safe to do this. And so having a conversation with that part of myself and just asking it, let me know what's not safe. Show me what's not safe. Listening to that part of me instead of trying to run away from it or trying to force it to change. And then discovering what that is, it's not safe because, what are people going to say? Okay, was one of the things that came up. What are people going to say? How can you tell people what you do? When people ask you what you do, how can you tell people what you're going to do? They're going to judge you, they're going to criticize you, all of that kind of thing. And so I had to say to that part of myself, I get that. I get that that you're keeping me safe from that. It makes sense. Um, but I really feel I want to do this. I really feel this is what I need to do. And I really want to be able to do this. And I asked that part of myself to think about, what if you just step aside a little bit and allow me to do this, but still keep me safe at the same time? You can come in, you can, let me know what's wrong, you can let me know what's not safe whenever you want. Just give me some more space to be able to do this. I used tapping as I was having this conversation with that part of myself, and I found that through doing that, that part of myself was willing to let go a little bit and step to the side a little bit, as long as it had permission to be able to step in and keep me safe if it felt like that. It's befriending your ego, befriending that part of you that's trying to keep you safe rather than beating it up, rebelling against it, and getting angry with yourself and angry with that part of you. This part of you is actually your saboteur. People speak a lot about you're in a saboteur and that you sabotage yourself. And that gives this part of you, I mean, yes, it is sabotaging you, but it's putting it in a very negative light. So that creates this horrible relationship between you and that part of you. That part of you is just trying to keep you safe. And when you do identity shifting work and you use the techniques and the tools like this sort of more gestalt way of working or EFT, matrix reimprinting, speaking to your inner child, having this relationship with yourself where you're listening to this part of you, you're inviting it into to speak with you, and then you start to suggest to it about making a change, a small change. What if we can do this and be safe at the same time? What if people do criticize and judge me for this and I can be safe at the same time, and working with those kinds of reframes? So I found that what Hekate helps me with is showing me these parts of myself that are trying to keep me safe, showing me the beliefs. Or sometimes she might just show me geometric patterns that somehow lead to a feeling or something. With other people, she sometimes gives them visions. And also, a lot of people that have worked with Hekate have told me that she comes to them in dreams, and that often they'll get messages in their dreams about what to work with next. So there's various ways that she will work with somebody. Hello, Tammy. Salutations. And S. Sams. Hello. Welcome. So she will help illuminate. And people who do this kind of work, I guess, outside of the craft or outside of working with Hecate or any other shadow working deities, will probably say, well, you don't, you're doing this on your own anyway. Why are you working with a deity? And it is true, Hecate will not do it for you, obviously. She's not going to do the work for you. But she's like you're working with uh, a mentor or a coach, in that she helps sort of nudge you into seeing things, feeling things, thinking, and nudges you in the right direction. Sometimes she will nudge you into seeing how you create your own uh, your own world by often when people start working with Hecate, particularly if they're not conscious of how much they may be sabotaging themselves and how much of the conflict that's going on in their world and the problems that go on in their world are actually caused by the way that they're thinking and relating to the world, Hecate will show them that. So sometimes when people first starting work with her, some things will go wrong or something will come up that will cause a challenge of some sort. So it might be the computer suddenly dying and being challenged to not panic about it. It could be sometimes the car might break down and then something else might happen. And then something else happens that day that causes you to go into this frustration. And what a lot of people do is they blame Hecate for it and say, well, Hecate did all this, so I'm not working with her. She's bad. She's nasty. I'm not working with her. But what she's showing you in that situation is how you're reacting to the stuff that happens around you and how the way that you react to the things that happen around you, like how did you react to the car breaking down? How did you react to something else going wrong that day? And what does that tell you about how you're thinking and feeling about yourself and the world? And it's just to highlight those things because if you ask her to then help you with these challenging situations to, help me with the car, send somebody, who can help me with the car, make it easy and not hard, then she will help you with that side of things. So it's not like she throws you in the deep end and leaves you there. She just wants to help you see where you need to do the work, where you need to start to do the work. So if you do find your work with Hecate or any other deity for that matter, or just shadow work in general, often the universe just does this, and things do start to go wrong, just have a look at how am I reacting to this thing going wrong? What am I saying to myself? And really look at what it is that you're thinking about yourself and the world. Are you saying, oh, all this bad luck, it's not fair, woe is me? Or are you saying, oh, not again, everything bad happens to me, oh, just typical, it's just my luck, why can't I ever get a break? That kind of thing. They're the things you need to work with. Those beliefs are the things you need to work with because what those beliefs are saying is that you have a belief that nothing can go right for you. You have a belief that you can't get ahead. You have a belief that perhaps you just can't ever really have happiness because things are always going to go wrong. Uh, that there's beliefs there underneath the surface of all of these events that happen when you're working with shadow work that can help you then do the work on those beliefs and you can move forward and then those events start to happen less and less and less and less. So it's really about utilizing all of the opportunities that come to you when you're working this because if you're working with Hecate or any other deity or even just yourself, you are asking for help, you're asking for assistance, and often this is the way that the assistance comes. And I've had that happen time and time again with Hecate. She tends to uh, what tends to happen with me is when I'm getting something coming up from the surface of the subconscious mind that needs to be worked with, it will come in some kind of form of anxiety or feeling in a low mood. And then I ask Hecate to help me find what it is that's causing the fear or the anger when it comes to anxiety, or what is it that's causing me to feel helpless and hopeless if it's to do with something like depression. Where am I feeling like something is just helpless and hopeless and that there's no point to anything because nothing's going to happen, nothing's going to change. And showing me those beliefs that I've been also programmed with since I was a small child. And from hearing the adults in my family, particularly the women in my family who are more prone to these sorts of moods, hearing them talk about how woe is them, it's helpless, it's hopeless, and mirroring that. So they're things that Hecate can help you with. You can also find that when you start working with Hecate, you can ask her to help you find modalities and healing techniques that can also help you. So you may find when you ask her that, she may introduce you to various different modalities that can help deal with the subconscious mind. So you might find EFT, for example, like my tapping channel at Sandra Inman Tapping. If you want to know what EFT is, or if you want to tap with me, I do have another channel on YouTube, just called Sandra Inman Tapping. And I tap through all of these beliefs and just do basically tap alongs with all sorts of beliefs that are going to be down there in the subconscious mind when you're doing this kind of shadow work. You may get introduced to NLP. You may get introduced to hypnotherapy or theta healing or some other type of healing. There's so many different types of healing out there and modalities out there that can help talk to the subconscious mind and change things. So she can help open up those things for you. There's also hypnotherapy audios you can listen to on YouTube. She can direct you. If you ask for her help, she will direct you to a particular audio that you might listen to. It could be hypnotherapy audio, it could be a guided meditation audio that can help you with whatever it is that you're wanting to shift at that time. So, some of the things that Hecate's helped me with is also grieving parts of myself that I've had to let go of. When you're doing this kind of work, you're going to have spent a long, long time feeling the way you felt. You're going to have spent a long time being the person that you are before you remember and switch back to who you truly are. And some of those parts of you, you're going to feel like if you let them go, you're betraying them because they feel so much a part of who you are, and there can be a real attachment to these aspects of yourself that you do have to let go of. And that recently happened to me where I had to grieve this part of myself, probably quite a young part of myself, that had a lot of self-doubt. And it felt like through all of the work that I'd done, that part was ready to go, but I was holding on to the grief of it. And I had to let it go. And I felt the betrayal in letting that part of me go because the self doubt was a way of protecting me from failing, protecting me from, uh, I guess, trying things and not succeeding. But it was also meaning I wasn't trying things. And I also had the belief that I couldn't succeed. So, of course, the law of attraction, magic would always be me mirroring that belief back as being true. So it was very hard to get ahead with doing anything or succeeding in anything. So I had to let that part of me go. And the grief was there. And the way that I was able to let it go was to let it go with love, thanking it for all that it had protected me from in my childhood and letting it go with love back to the mother. So back to where it came from, back home, sending it home, and allowing Hecate to actually take that and do whatever she will with that aspect to transform it to. And in giving those aspects to her, it's a way of not only letting them go, but letting them go knowing that they are, you know, under care. It's not like you're just sending that part of yourself out into the wilderness. You're sending it with love back to the mother. So that's where Hecate as a mother energy, it can actually come through because a lot of people do relate to Hecate in her mother aspect. And even though there's only been maybe some stories in myth about her maybe having had a child, Hecate generally isn't seen as being a mother, but she is a caretaker of children, of young children. And she can be like a mother in the way that she can actually be gentle with you if you ask her to be. She doesn't have to be heavy handed all the time. So if you find you're working with Hecate and things are getting a bit too much, you can just ask her to back off a little bit on the hard stuff and just, be gentle with you. And she will be gentle with you. So she's not a nasty deity. She just tries to get you to where you need to be in probably the quickest way. And sometimes that can be a bit much, especially when you're first starting. So As you change these parts of you, you let those parts of you go, you grieve them if you have to, you start to transform into who you really are. So it's not like you become someone else. There's no one else to become. You're always going to be you, but you're going to be you without all of the baggage that's stopping you from being you. You're going to be more confident. You're going to feel more confident in doing the things you want to do and expressing yourself the way you want to express yourself. You're going to change the way you express yourself. You're going to change the way you do things. You're going to feel different to how you used to feel, but it'll be a subtle shift. It's not like you're going to have this humongous big change and transform into someone else. You're actually just transforming back into yourself again. So the shifts are often profound, but also quite subtle. And you find that you're doing things differently to how you were doing them a week ago. You may not have noticed, but you start to notice that you're doing things. You may be more outgoing than you used to be. You may be more confident in speaking up for yourself than you used to be. You may find that you're more calm and collected, doing things, like maybe if you've got to do a presentation or public speaking, you're just feeling differently, you're doing things differently, and that's the change, that's the shifting into who you are. And if you're doing magic and doing spell work to really shift things in your life, like to bring in more money, to bring in the relationship that you want, to bring in the house of your dreams, to travel, whatever it is you're really wanting to do with your life, as your personality shifts back into who you truly are, these doors will start to open up for you, and you'll find that life is starting to lead you in the direction of where you want to go. The spells are working better. You may not even need to do spells. Things just start to happen anyway because you're transforming into that version of you that has and does these things now through doing this inner work with Hecate. So the ways that I've worked with her have been asking her to shine her light. I've also worked with her on doing rituals and spells. Sometimes a spell is a good way to kick something off. So you may find that you're really dealing with something very difficult. Maybe there's a self-doubt there that you just can't. You've tried all different angles. You've tried to change it. It's still there. It's still holding you back. Do a confidence spell with Hecate, or do a road opener spell with Hecate, so that she'll open the road so that you can start to remove the obstacles that are in your way. And when you do a road opener with her, then the obstacles that are there, you're going to find ways to deal with those obstacles. So it's not like she's magically going to take that fear or self doubt away from you. It's more that something or someone or something is going to manifest in your life that's going to help you do that. It's going to help you feel more confident. It could be a technique, a modality, it could be a person, it could be coaching. It could simply be a guided meditation that just gives you that little push that you needed over the fence. Those little things are what a spell can do for you for these sorts of things. A spell's not going to shift your identity for you, but it can open doors to bringing in the things that can help you make these shifts. If you're doing a confidence spell, for example, you may feel more confident after the spell for maybe a day or two, but the old program is going to come back at you. So a confidence spell will often bring you things that are going to help you in the long term become more confident, like maybe some guided meditations or hypnotherapy audios or some EFT tapping or something, or someone that's going to help you work on what you need to work on and change for the confidence. So they're ways that I work too. So just doing simple spells to just help break through or crack the nut. Sometimes with shadow work, you can feel like you're in some kind of a cocoon, or there's a ceiling up there or wall in front of you, and you just can't break through that wall. You just can't break through that ceiling, or you just can't hatch out of that egg. And so you've got to try different things to actually get that move, whatever that energy is, whatever the belief is underneath the program is, that's holding you back. And spells are great for doing that kind of work. So doing spells with Hekate, doing meditations with Hekate where you are stepping into the version of you that you wanna be. So you imagine, what would I be doing if I had the confidence and I was the person I really know myself to be? What would I be doing? Where would I be? How would I be living? What would I have? How would I feel? How would I be going about my day? How would I be talking to people? And you build that image of yourself up, and then you observe that image of yourself doing all of those things. Just observe them. And then when you're ready, you step into that version of you and you imagine you living the life of that version of you. Hecate is great at helping you do that. Often, when you try to do that on your own, sometimes you can either get scared and jump back out of yourself again, because one of the most terrifying things for all of us is to truly step into who we are and to step into our power. With Hecate, she can actually give you more, I guess, support so that when you are stepping into that version of you, at least at the beginning stages, you can stay in that version of you longer. You've got help at being able to sustain the concentration to imagine you are that person, and to ask her to shine the light on what is uncomfortable about stepping into that version of you. So if you step into that version of you or you're just observing that version of you, what's uncomfortable about it? Because it will be uncomfortable, particularly at first. It will feel like it's not real. It'll feel like this isn't really me. I can't do that. You'll hear the little voice in the back of your head going, you can't do that. That's not you. That's never going to happen. That's the resistance. That's that part of you trying to keep you as the old you, trying to keep you safe. And of course, you've got the techniques to be able to then go in and have that conversation with that part of you that's trying to keep you so safe, or do tapping or do another modality just to get clear with, how am I holding myself back? Why do I not feel like this is possible for me? Where is that coming from? And it'll go back to your childhood usually. And you may even have to go back and have a conversation with the younger you as and help them change the way that they're perceiving the world around them. And a way of doing that's matrix re-imprinting. There's also Gestalt, which is another modality that can help with doing that, where you just go back and have a conversation with the little you, or the echo, as it's called in matrix re-imprinting, and you allow that younger you to express themselves. You get to know what they're thinking and what they're feeling, and then you can talk to that younger you as you would have wanted someone to talk to you back then. So you can allow that younger you to be who they are. You can give them permission to be who they are. You can tell them that they're a good little boy or they're a good little girl, and give them encouragement, and let them know that if they are copying a parent, for example, that they don't have to copy the parent. That belief may be that you can never get ahead because that's the belief of maybe a parent. That's the parent's belief, it's not their belief, and you can speak to the child and let them know that they can actually be who they truly are. And that's a form of inner child therapy. It works wonderfully with tapping, with matrix re-imprinting. Uh, all of these ways of connecting to our subconscious mind we use in identity shifting and shadow work, and working with Hecate to guide you there. Even asking Hecate to tell you what is this belief? I'm feeling it, but I can't put my finger on what the belief actually is or where it comes from. Tell me, Hecate, what is it? And I've had that experience with her. And what she said to me was, you need to go into your inner child and speak to your inner child, because that's where it's coming from. So I've had to go back to when I was 4 years old and tap on that 4-year-old. Just recently, I went on a journey with Hecate back to when I was 7, and I was at school. And in year 3 at school, we had a terrible, terrible monster of a teacher. She was like an absolute dragon lady, and she was really nasty. The type of teacher that would cane you, because it could cane kids back in those days, just simply because you didn't realize that there wasn't a full stop at the end of a sentence, that kind of thing. Like, really psychopath type teacher. And I had a lot of trauma from being in that year at school. I was terrified. It gave me the belief that the world wasn't safe because I had this terrible teacher. And so I had to go back to that child and talk to that child about the teacher. That wasn't her fault. Luckily, when I was at school, that teacher did, for some reason, disappear. I think she either got sacked or maybe she got ill, and so we did end up with a really nice teacher for the rest of the year. And so I told that to the child, and I tried to find ways to allow the child to enjoy school again so that she wasn't scared of the world, and to let her know that she was safe, and all of the different ways that I could imagine doing that, like talking to her about the nice teachers and how they were there and not everybody was bad, and just working with the inner child. Because of that terror of that 1 year at school just gave me this whole view that the world wasn't safe, and I felt when I spoke to my inner child when I was 7, she was telling me that, she was terrified for her life. Now, Mrs. Ran, who was the name of that horrible teacher, she obviously didn't kill any of the children, but she was just so nasty and so strict and physically violent that, she gave us all the terror that, for our lives, our lives, our safety essentially was on the line every time we walked into that classroom. So these are the traumas that we have as children that often get overlooked because a lot of us have these school traumas and things like that, and we can overlook them, but they actually create our view of the world when we're children. So that 1 year at school taught me that the world wasn't safe and that people weren't safe and authority wasn't safe. And so I had to go and work with my inner child to change that so that it wasn't still there in my belief system. So that's something that Hecate brought up with me. I had done the work on that particular inner child years ago when I first started doing EFT, but I had to go back and do it again because I picked up more than one belief from that year in that school. So these are the ways that she can just subtly helps you and guides you to making the changes without actually doing it for you and without giving you too much information because you really do have to do this work on your own. Okay, I should go back to the comments. Hail Mother Hecate, indeed. Okay, 3 days left until we can tap into our power. There's 3 days left until we can tap into our power. Okay. Are there any videos of road opener spells? There is one coming up. I think I do might have one, but there is definitely one coming up in November. So that's 3 weeks from now. So I'm doing a road opener with Hecate for that one. After a meditation and met Hecate, I had opportunities to stand up for myself and let go of that part of me being told as a child you were too sensitive. I feel more empowered now. Yes, yes. And of course, when you're told as a child, you're too sensitive, you're too loud, you're too quiet, you're too vulnerable, you're too this or you're too that, instantly your subconscious mind will jump in and take on that belief as being true to basically protect you from ever having to be in that situation again or have somebody tell you that or for being too sensitive, you may have actually shut that sensitivity down or felt shame around it or guilt around it. Uh, those are the sorts of things that happen when we tell children these things. Okay. What meditation you did, share link or channel if possible. So the meditations that I do are ones that I create myself or I just go straight into a meditation. If you wanna find any particular meditations, I do have a Hecate meditation on my channel. I will have to go through and find out where that actually is, and, I might stick it in the, description field once this video has been processed, which won't be for about another 24 hours. So if you wanna come back to this video in 24 hours, there'll be a link to the Hecate meditation, and that's one that you can do for this sort of thing. Um, oh, a guided meditation in the 101 course. Oh, to meet the deity? Well, that was right at the very beginning, in module 2, there is. So in the Mystery Witch School 101 Academy, which is my 12-month course on Wicca and Witchcraft, there is a guided meditation there for meeting a deity. It's just a real short introduction to working with deities. You do actually work with deities more intensely further into the course, but that's just an opportunity to be uh, made aware of the deities, or who might be a deity that's working with you right at the very beginning of your journey into witchcraft. So there is a meditation there. There are lots of meditations in my course, A Journey with Hekate. That is a course that's totally on this shadow work and identity shifting with Hekate. So you start right from the beginning of building your astral temple and working with Hekate in that temple. And whenever you go into that temple, you invite Hekate there, and she helps you through these guided meditations that are there in each module. There's also rituals that you do in A Journey with Hecate as well to also help bring these things to light in the subconscious, and also to open the road and do all those things. They're part of that course as well. So it's working with Hecate in a ritual sense and in a meditation sense. I also have the tapping there that can help you move through things. There's a particular type of tapping I like to do, especially for identity shifting, that's quite short and very, very good at helping change beliefs in that course as well. So that's something that I was going to talk about shortly. Okay, how are we going for time? Okay. Now, shadow work does sound scary, but in all honesty, Hecate doesn't push you any further than you're ready for. So if you do find you start to do shadow work with Hecate, and maybe you haven't asked her to go gentle with you, that things come up for you, as I said before. Every one of those things that comes up for you when you're doing shadow work, you can handle. All you have to do is ask Hecate to help you handle it, to help you find a way to handle it, to give you what you need to be able to handle it. That's all you have to do when you're in those situations. Because shadow work isn't about punishment. It's not about going into your shadow and beating yourself up because you've got, selfishness down there and greed down there and all of these things down there. It's not about beating yourself up because you're sabotaging yourself because you keep pulling yourself back into your old identity. This whole process of identity shifting is a very long process, really. It's something that's going to take you probably even years sometimes to really, really establish. But doing the intensive work, like over a 4-month period, which A Journey with Hecate helps you do, you're really, really addressing a lot of the stuff there. And the idea isn't to beat yourself up because you wobble back and forth between the new identity and the old identity, which you will. You'll constantly be wobbling. You'll have days where you're really into remembering who you are, and you're really into feeling good and being this version of you. You're really able to feel into the wish fulfilled. You're really able to feel into the end result of it. And then an hour later, you find yourself you've fallen back into the old identity again. You're starting to feel down. You're starting to feel maybe anxious or angry and all of these things. That's a wobble, and it happens. It happens. It happens. It happens. Especially at first, until the subconscious mind really is able to take on your new identity and there's less blocks for it to take on that identity, it's not going to be solid. And each time you wobble, it's an opportunity for you to find out what caused the wobble, what was the belief behind the wobble, what was I telling myself, uh, and or was I just not being in that version of me? I forgot to be in that version of me. Or maybe some resistance came up and said, "Who are you kidding? You can't do this. You'll never be able to do this. May as well give up now." All of these voices that come into your head from the old version of you holding you back. You just keep doing the work. You keep jumping into that version of you every day. You keep trying to remember yourself every day. And some days will be harder than other days. Some days there'll be down days and you'll be really wobbled and it's really hard to get into that new version of you. Other days it'll be just so easy to fly into that version of you. You're sort of dancing in that version of you. So it's a wobbling thing, and it's something that does take practice. But the more you practice and the more you clear out those negative beliefs that are stopping you from being who you are, the more your subconscious will take on the new version of you, and it gets easier and easier, and you stay in that new version of you for a longer periods of time. So it's not about uh, beating yourself up. It's not about doing anything that is dark and sinister and scary. It can be scary in that you've got to face your negative beliefs about yourself. It can be scary to face fears that you have, for sure. Fear is a scary thing, but you're doing it to make that change and to convert that fear into love and happiness, essentially. So you end up becoming quite fearless when you're doing this kind of work, and that's the kind of work you have to do with Hecate. You have to be quite a fearless person to work with her because she can be she's a deity that just wants you to basically work and basically be like her. And that means you do have to cut through your fears and insecurities. So that is a part and parcel of working, doing shadow work and working with Hecate as well. But she gives you everything that you need to do it when you ask her to. So she's a wonderful deity to work with for all of these kinds of things. I work with her also. There's a morning practice that I do. So I in a journey with Hecate, the actual course, there is like a circle that you set up around yourself for your daily practice with Hecate, and you call in the guardians of that circle, and also working with invocation of Hecate and how to connect with Hecate. So that's something that I do every day. And when I'm doing this work, generally I'll do the work when I'm connecting with Hecate on that daily basis in the morning. If anything else comes up for me, like I'm having trouble sleeping, for example, and I know that that something's coming up from the subconscious mind that's causing the anxiety or whatever it is, I will just get up and just say, ask Hecate and start talking to Hecate. So I don't even necessarily bring in the guardians or set up a circle. I'll just say, okay, I'm going to do the work now. It might be 3 o'clock in the morning. That's okay. I'll get up and I'll do some inner work with Hecate and ask her, show me what is causing this resistance, what is causing this resistance to sleep. And I get to her to show it to me, and I just start doing the work basically then and there. So that's how I work with her. So as you can see, Hecate, she doesn't just walk with you; she actually helps you transform by giving you little nudges and showing you things that are available to you, showing the tools, the best tools that will work for you. So through the shadow work, through the identity shifts, and through her guidance, which is quite unwavering, really, she does help you release what is no longer serving you and helps you step into your power. So, if this sort of thing that you've been listening to today is feeling like it's work that you're ready to do, or that there's this sense that, Hecate is calling you to go deeper, then I will tell you about the journey with Hecate now. It is a guided path to actually working deeply with her as your mentor and your ally on this path. And over the course, you're exploring the shadow work, so exploring the beliefs, and you're doing that through finding and remembering yourself and really spending time to discover who this version of you really is. And as you progress, you discover more and more and more about this version of you. And at first, this version of you may seem very distant. It may seem like you could never be that person. But through the actual work of practicing being that person every day and slowly stepping into that version of you, getting rid of all the beliefs and programs that are stopping you, you start to transform. Your identity just naturally starts to transform into that new version of you, which is actually really who you were all along. It's just that you weren't allowing yourself to be that version of you. You're reclaiming your inner power. And you're doing that through rituals, you're doing that through practices, and you're doing that through the guidance of Hecate and connecting directly with Hecate. So that is a journey with Hecate. There's a link in the description field below this video where you can go and have a little bit more of a look on what that course is all about. It's also on my website on the homepage. So you just scroll down to that one, and you can also find it on my courses tab on my website as well. and that's mysterywitchschool.com. And I'll also place it in the chat as well. I don't know whether you can even click on things in chats, but anyway. Okay. Does Hecate resemble a normal person from Greek mythology? She sort of manifests differently for different people. Some will see her more traditional, others see her differently. And because she's not a physical being in the sense of where we've got physical bodies and there's only so much we can do to alter our physical bodies, right? To look different. When you're dealing with beings, I guess, who aren't on this denser physical, don't have these limitations, she can manifest look different to different people. So she could quite easily resemble a normal person from Greek mythology if that is going to suit how you can connect with her. Hi, Timothy from Texas. Okay, great. Thank you for that impatient eternity. So that is a journey with Hecate. If Hecate is calling you and you're ready to step into that, then yes, join that course. Face and release your fears, the old patterns that are in your way, stepping into that version of you, that more authentic version of you, actually, even though at first it may not feel authentic, it might feel like you're pretending. And of course, building that relationship with Hecate. So you're working with her in magic as well. So it's not just doing shadow work, actually working with Hecate for your spells too, and having her help you with your magic is another aspect of that. Okay. I don't know if it's been asked before, but how do you know when Hecate is working with you or responding to your requests? You will get nudges. So it depends on how you relate to deities in general. Some people have conversations with Hecate. Some people will see Hecate. Some people will hear Hecate. Thoughts, the way she works with me is through thoughts. So I get packets of thought come through. Uh, Ideas. Sometimes I might, if I close my eyes, I might get some kind of visual thing, but mostly it comes through my thoughts and cognition, through an idea. Or she'll show me numbers like triple three or double three. Often that's to confirm things. Dreams, she will come into dreams and be part of your dream. It's another way that she does it. So it really just depends on you. She came through for me in a channeled reading, talking about a rebirth and being a light worker and shining light in the darkest places and all dimensions and hearts. Awesome, Regina. Yes, yes. She come through readings. Tarot is a great way to connect with Hecate because she will really help you when it comes to tarot. Like she will make those cards light up. With information. So tarot is another way to work with her, and a part of a journey with Hecate course actually has a shadow work with tarot mini course in there so that you can learn to use the tarot in a shadow work context with Hecate. So that journey with Hecate that I was telling you about also has a mini tarot course in there too that can help you with the shadow work side and help you connect with Hecate more, particularly if you're struggling with being able to hear her, see her, feel her. Tarot might be the way to connect with her. So that's all part of a journey with Hecate. Okay, if you've got any questions or anything about the course, you can always email me, sandra@mysterywitchschool.com. And Hecate is always guiding you through the crossroads, through the liminal spaces, through the choices, through the changes. And all you have to do is listen and connect with your heart, connect with her through your heart chakra, and take that step forward and be adventurous and curious about it. Yeah, be adventurous about these things. Okay, everybody, thank you for coming along and listening. Thank you so much for being here. And may Hecate help you continue along your way. So blessed be everyone. We'll see you again next week.